Today, we're going to talk about that one thing that we always ask ourselves, especially if we're in one of those relationships. Should I stay? Should I get divorced or should I stay? You've probably asked yourself this question. I've asked myself this question. If you're in a marriage, you've probably come across that question. And later on, in a few minutes, we're going to have some ways to help us to decide if we want to stay together or if we want to divorce. Right after this. Hey, welcome to the channel. Like I said before, have you ever thought or had a question? Should we divorce or should we stay together? You ever thought about that? Well, you know what? It happens. You know, you're in a marriage, you're in a relationship, things happen. But I have someone I think you guys are going to be excited to listen to. She was on this week's podcast. Sabrina is awesome. I mean, you know what? She's an awesome lawyer. I think she's more than a lawyer, though, because she cares a lot. I've never met anyone that's in the law profession that cares as much as she does. And you know what? People say they care, but she shows it. You could tell. And if you guys listen to this past week's podcast, you would have picked up on it. You know. So you know what? Let's go ahead and bring Sabrina on. Sabrina.
Hey, how are you?
I am wonderful. Guys, this is Sabrina Shaheen Cronin from the Cronin Law Firm.
Thank you so much. That was the kindest thing I think anyone said. And I'm just so humbled and grateful to be here again. I love you and your lovely, amazing wife, Tina Marie, who I'm so sad cannot be with us tonight. But thank you both for wanting me back.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it was wonderful. We were just like, man, it was amazing. You know, this and that, and you care so much. I was just like, wow, you sure you're a lawyer? If I had to go through something as traumatic as like a separation or something, I would like for you to be my lawyer because you don't only deal with the situation, you deal with the whole entire thing. You know, what happens afterwards. And that's what I want to kind of focus tonight on. Yes, you can deal with that and you can speak to that, but I want to talk about the personal development that you help your clients with and other women out there. But before we do that, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself here, Sabrina.
Well, you know, Jason, I do care a lot. And I think it's just, I'm kind of a sensitive soul. And I'm really a musician at heart. I love music. And that's kind of how I got into the law, seeing how some people were badly treated, some of my friends in the entertainment industry. And I wanted to be their voice. And so I pursued an interest. I pursued a law degree. And then I got an MBA thinking that it would put me a little bit farther ahead because I have a music degree in undergrad. And I did a lot of different types of law in my career. I've done everything from litigation, family, some bankruptcy, criminal defense, criminal prosecution, civil litigation, commercial law. I've done a lot of different types of law. And at one point in my career, I stepped away from it a little bit just to have some time to myself and raise a family. And then I decided to open up a law firm. And it wasn't just an idea I had. I thought, you know, I'm going to just take care of people the way I know how. I care deeply. And I didn't have this grand plan to have a firm. I just thought I'm going to hang a shingle and see what happens. And one thing led to another, and I kept getting referrals and more clients. And then I had to hire people to help me. And here I am 10 years later. So I really like what I do. I care a lot about people. And I say that, and I mean really well. And then, you know, you have these clients that just are never happy, no matter what you do and no matter how hard you try. They just can't see outside of themselves. And they say, you said you cared about me, and then I have this huge bill, and you said, you know, you can never please everybody, but you just have to do the best you can. And that's all you can ask of yourself.
That's true. So you sleep well at night after you treat your clients, right? When you go home, you're like, I've given them all that I have and I'm good with that.
Yes, but when I have a client that still isn't satisfied, I ask myself, was there something more that I could have done? Was there something more that my team could have done? Why did she see it this way? Why was her perception this way? I always, and I've done this since I was a little girl, tried to put myself in the other person's shoes to see their perspective, sometimes to the detriment of my own perspective and standing. Um, but as I've gotten older and as I've improved my own boundaries, I can say, okay, I see their side. I can understand where they're coming from, but really this is the truth. This is where things should be, and this is how things are.
Okay. So what led you to self-development? I mean, but was it because of your clients? I mean, after they divorced and you said, well, they need some more support after the process. Is that how you got into it?
Well, actually it's from a personal development goal of mine. When we all go through challenges in life, for me anyway, the best way to get over something and the best way to find your purpose in life is really kind of digging deep and saying why, if you believe in the higher power, God, whatever it is that a lot of people talk about universe now. Why is God putting me through this? What is my calling? What is my purpose? If I survive this, there has to be a reason. And I looked at it and I said, you know what? There is a reason. I can turn all of these challenges that I've had to face into doing something good for others. And the true path to happiness in life is serving others. Again, that's my opinion, but I find self-fulfillment of that in that. I find growth. People are so much better when they're serving others. It's in serving others that you find your own calling and your own self-worth. And that's a big part of it. So when I see so many people, especially women, who feel so disempowered, they don't have the strength to go on, they don't know how they're going to survive, especially if their husband was the breadwinner. They've been home, they've been stuck, they don't know any better, and then all of a sudden their husband leaves them, or they sustained years and years of either abuse, physical, mental, or cheating, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the husband leaves and they're left with nothing. They have no means of survival. They don't have an art or a craft or a job skill. So what do? They have to reinvent themselves, and it's a scary thought. And so part of the progression in their life is to develop within. They have to develop their self-esteem. They have to then develop confidence. Confidence comes by doing things and feeling successful at it.
Right.
And then the more confident you become at something, that helps to grow the self-esteem. And then you can, feel better about yourself. And then you just become a brand new person and you can see life in a completely different way. But if you just focus on the person during the time of their divorce,
Mm-hmm.
Most people in that moment are at their worst. They're in the most highly emotionally toxic time. And when they come to a lawyer, they need someone to grab a hold of them, support them, tell them that we got you. And we cannot guarantee an outcome here, but we got you. We will give you the best service we can. We will tell you your rights. If we can't deliver what you want, we'll tell you what's reasonable. We'll tell you what's practical, and we'll tell you what's in the best interest of your children. And a lot of attorneys don't guide their clients in a way that will help promulgate a good result, but will instead, spiral the case out of control. And then at the end of the case, you'll see a $50,000 legal bill and nothing to show for it. And that's when clients are dissatisfied. It's in managing expectations. It's in seeing the whole person and helping them through the process. And then building the person up from the ground floor up to help them see a better life after the divorce. It's a whole comprehensive thing.
But you didn't start out that way. Later on, I mean, after you went through a few cases or whatever, you start to see this. And then, like I said, you were working on your own self and going through your own thing. afterwards you said, hey, we still need to fix the people. It needs to be some, getting back to who you are. Yes, your marriage failed, but you're okay. You just pick yourself up and kind of, let's keep going. And so you had to build them back up to at least be able to function throughout life, because people are walking around disgruntled, upset because their person left them, the family was broken up, this dream that you had is no longer a dream. So you're walking around all scorned, and now your life is kind of messed up. So it's nice. And I'm telling you, like I told you guys, lawyers don't talk like this. See what she just said, how I want to build a whole person. I mean, that's a special individual. When you want to build a whole person, you're not really worried about the bottom line. I mean, like, if I can go through a divorce, I'll say I'm a lawyer, and I can send out a $50,000 bill and be like, hey, I'm done. You know what? You guys are split. I've done my job. You guys going on your little merry way. But it's more than that. You're fixing the individual. And I get what you're saying, because that's how I feel about marriages. People used to come to us and say, man, you have a great marriage from the outside. I'm like, yes, but it takes work. Yes. This just doesn't happen. So after a while, we just started to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we're on to something. We do work at this. Maybe we can show others how to go down this path, how to respect one another, how to learn how to disagree with one another, and continue to love that person, because I love you, but I don't have to disrespect you.
Jason, so, I think it's, it's not just with this area though. It's how I deal with people in general. And you made a good point about it's being invested. I can say it about some employees that I have where other employers would have been, you're out the door. But I have been the best I can be in terms of a leader. I want to teach people to be better for themselves, not just in the practice of law or whatever it is they're doing for me, but in life. I try to build someone up, and I approach my cases and my clients that way, because if I'm expecting them to hear me, I need to step into their shoes and then say, okay, from their perspective, why are they seeing something this way? And then I say, okay, it's because of their history. It's because of their pathology. It's because of their upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
So much goes into somebody's psyche. So you have to see why their perception is the way it is. Sometimes you'll never know. Sometimes it's burned me in the past. I try to be as patient as I can be, as accepting and as constructively, critical, but in a positive way. And some people still, it's not good enough. You can never make everybody happy. Sometimes to my detriment. Once again, I've given and given and given and taken, given too much slack to someone, and they take advantage. Yeah. But in general, it has served me, because people that appreciate it will really foster and grow and develop. When someone wants to be introspective, when someone wants to be coachable, when someone wants to grow and change, they will hear me in a loving, kind way and know that I want what's best for them. So if I'm telling a client, look, in order to effectuate change, you have to approach your ex with this tone, with these words, in this manner, instead of being short or tempered or whatever. Don't incite him, but say, and I specifically say, write it this way, text it this way, email this way. I'm like Cyrano in their ear, but it's true, because then but it builds that muscle. And then once that muscle gets built more and more, then they can see something a little differently. I was just talking to a client about it today, and it's in how we do things. And there's that saying, how he does one thing is how he does everything.
Yes.
And so I just try my best, and I care deeply about people and their happiness and satisfaction. And everybody deserves joy and peace and happiness in their life. But sometimes you have to work for it. And some people are just feeling too entitled, or they're not introspective enough, or they're not open to coaching, or they don't see themselves. I know somebody who thinks that, she's the most empathic person out there. And honestly, she's the least empathic. She's the most narcissistic. And it's crazy to me how people can perceive themselves in a way, but it's just people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
People have to get out of the way of themselves. That's the problem. I mean, like they think, "Hey, I'm fine. I'm not the problem. You're the problem." But
right,
that's not always
right.
the case. First of all, you have to fix yourself, and once you fix yourself, you're okay. Because remember, I'm the thinker that think the thoughts that makes the things. So things are showing up in my life is because I thought them there, right? So you have to take some ownership in yourself, and once you do that, you can start to heal. And it's a healing process. I mean, marriage doesn't come with a roadmap. Not yet. I'm working on that. So just wait. That roadmap is on its way, guys. So marriage doesn't come with a roadmap. So you have to kind of figure this stuff out, right? All I know is I'm supposed to get married. I'm supposed to buy a house, have some kids, have a couple of cars. That's what I knew about marriage coming in. But it's way more than that. Way more. I'm bringing baggage from when I was a child into this. I'm dealing with my likes and dislikes from my upbringing, and Tina has different upbringing, and here we go. We're trying to come together, and we're colliding. We don't even understand why. So you always have to develop yourself. So I get it about developing yourself. So you have programs, right? I mean, after they go through, say we go through a divorce or something like that, or a separation, because you deal with separations and divorce, correct?
All of it,
Oh,
relationships in general, effective communication. The right now I'm doing a workshop, about self-love and learning to love yourself. And a lot of what you're talking about, Jason,
mhm.
is so important in a marriage, because if you don't love yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? And when you and Tina Marie got together, you lucked out because you found someone with the same tenacity as you, and they hold the same values in a marriage, because you can hold marriage up, to the highest level. But if
Right.
your spouse is not equally invested, you can do all the work, but it takes two at some point.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not always one person's fault, and even if there has been some sort of breakdown, there's always two people involved. And that's when it takes a really hard look at yourself. So, yes, I do a lot of workshops in terms of helping people, whether it's during a divorce, just in a marriage, post divorce, moving on with their life, trying to find some semblance of, self esteem and confidence back. It's all about the confidence. And truly, it boils down to the art of loving yourself and caring for yourself. Again, because if you don't, no one else will.
You know what? That brings me to something here that you mentioned. I was on your website and I saw you had a workshop, the art of loving yourself.
Right.
Yeah, it was September. When do you have a particular date for that?
Actually, it depends on, it's a rolling workshop. So they're on Tuesdays,
Okay.
and it's starting with I believe the 14th of
Okay.
September. That's
Okay.
our first one. And so we will have various classes starting, and similar to other workshops where we can have a live podcast, or we call them videos or Zoom links, but people are often reluctant to kind of show themselves. And so often it's really just audio. So we'll talk and we'll really share a lot of deeply personal things. But I don't want people to be afraid to be vulnerable, because it's in being vulnerable that you can learn how to grow. I once heard a long time ago that the healthiest people have the least amount of secrets. And obviously there's a time and place to share things, but it's true. The more you can feel free to express yourself and not feel shame in your story, that's that's when really you've come into your own.
That's true. When you feel comfortable
Mhm.
in yourself. And I like that because when you share and you just get out of all of these things, you don't have a lot of secrets. You're not hiding behind yourself. It's free to be you. It's okay to be you. I had so many hangups as a child, I'm in these different boxes, right? And so I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to like this. I don't like this. I don't do this. And after a while, I'm like, I do like this. I do want this. So it's like it's okay. So I'm going to do this. So
Well, people, Jason, people in relationships, they tend to be, I call them like shapeshifters. You
uh-huh.
think you're doing something that the other person wants, and then you get into the relationship or the marriage and they then become who they are. And then you're like, whoa, it's like a bait and switch kind of thing. But it's so important to be yourself, because if you're not, then you're not authentic to not only you, but your spouse. And it's not fair. So you have to really know yourself before you get married. That would be a very, high priority. Know yourself, know what you want, get clear on that.
Now, your workshop is that, the art of loving yourself, right?
Yeah.
So is it before? It's always nice to do the work before you run into a situation, right? So you can arm yourself so when a situation comes, you can handle it. But it's basically geared towards before, right? Before the situation, or is it like after I've gone through this, hurdle and now I'm just trying to get my life back?
Well, a lot of my clients are post-divorce. They're women, and they're typically between 30 and 55 or 60. And it's really just about learning how to be free in themselves. And I see all phases of people and where they are in their life, but typically it's post divorce. But I do see a lot of people even before and during. So it's not just limited to a certain group. It's anyone who feels sad or despondent or depressed and they don't know where to turn. They want more for themselves. They don't know how to get it. If it's someone who's wanting to lose weight or finish a book or make something of themselves, make more money, whatever it is, stop sabotaging yourself, stop procrastinating. Procrastination is a form of self-sabotage too.
Yes,
And
it is.
so it's really about finding themselves and working on a better way of life. But a lot of people are complacent and they don't want it. And so it's someone who really wants it and wants to be coachable, wants more out of their life. There's a lot of people out there that just, hey man, I don't, I'm cool. I don't need any of this, because it's hard work.
Yeah.
It takes work. It's like an addict having to really focus every day if they're clear, clean, or if it's someone who struggles. It's a daily thing to build that muscle daily. But after a while, it just becomes your routine. It becomes a new habit. And we can change our personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And once we change our personalities, then we can change our personal realities.
Yes. Yes.
And
Well
that's
said.
the beauty of it.
Yeah, I like that. Changing your personal realities. That is, but it
But we
takes
have to take
work.
ownership of that. Everyone wants to, not everyone, many people out there want to blame everybody else.
Right.
Especially in marriage. Well,
Yeah.
my husband did this to me and blah, 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 blah. And he cheated and but they don't look at themselves. Well, maybe your husband was feeling neglected or emasculated or not important. Maybe you weren't paying attention to him when he came home, or maybe he's just a complete sociopathic narcissist who just cheats. You have to kind of look at the situation, and I help people figure that out.
That's good for self-esteem. I mean, big time. Because I'm at my lowest point, like I said, when I come to see you, and you're gonna kind of point me in different directions like that. I love that. Yeah, just like it may not have been you, it might have been him or the other person all along. But what role did you play? So just pointing out every aspect of it. I love that. But guys, hey, listen, we Sabrina was on the podcast this week. And you can get that at legendaryrelationship.com/63. It was a wonderful conversation. As you can tell, we learned a lot. We went more into some other things. I don't want to give it away. Go check it out at legendaryrelationship.com/63. Also, you can find Sabrina at her law firm, CroninLawFirm.com. Because you're in, give me the states that you operate in, Sabrina.
We are, in terms of the legal arena, we do work in Ohio, New York, Illinois, and Michigan, obviously, and other states, depending on the type of case it is. It's called Pro Hoc Vici. We can get in, admitted to other states. I'm licensed in federal states as well. But in terms of coaching, I've coached all over the country, Canada, other countries as well. So that is not limited, because it's not really I don't need a legal license for that.
Right.
But I have helped a lot of different people going through a lot of tumultuous times, especially with high conflict divorces and custody battles in a lot of states across the country.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on it, but we touched on that on the podcast about the custody
Yeah.
battle and the kids, and you
Yeah.
gotta, you gotta watch out. You had said something on the podcast, and it was, do I win now or do I set them up for the kids? It was something about the kids,
Yeah.
and their future. Do I do everything now to win and then destroy the kids' future, or do I have a nice clean break and then the kids will have a better future? And I thought that was like awesome because just because we're splitting, we still have to be together. We have graduations, weddings, birth of babies, just all these different things and occasions. You're still going to have to come together and be civil. So you
Right.
might as well go ahead and get along and do what's right.
Well, that's exactly it. Doing what's right and not having to be right. Not having to be understood all the time, but understanding the other person. And it's in that understanding that we grow. And that when we don't have to fight to be right, our children will know, they'll see the truth. In time, things will work out. They have a way of seeing beyond what you say. So if you maintain your calm and your peace and your dignity and you show kindness and are respectful, you might not respect your ex, but if you show respect in general and show a kindness and be respectful, your children will feel a calm and a knowing that in time you will get your answer. It might just kill you every day. Suck it up. But by God, if you don't suck it up, your kids will suffer. And sometimes you just have to go in your room and cry and then put on your best game face, do your best Grammy, award nomination. Do it, but you got to do it for your kids. You got to love your kids more than you hate the other person. And I know so many people, not just couples, but I have, friends or relatives who they can't stand each other and it extends beyond them to the next generation.
Yeah.
And the next generation suffers. And when this next generation suffers, like in custody cases, what good is that? What are you showing your kids? They have so much tension and stress and anxiety as it is in this day and age, and growing up what they're doing with all the social media and all the pressures and the bullying. It's crazy. So why add to their plate? Again, as a parent, put yourself in their shoes. How would they feel? How would you feel hopping back and forth all the time, not being allowed to take your iPad? Oh, because dad bought it and dad doesn't want it at mom's, and then mom can't talk to the kids, or they have to leave their clothes out in the driveway because mom didn't buy it or dad didn't. It's just ridiculous. It's absurd to me that people put their children through it because, again, they don't see beyond themselves. They're not putting themselves in the children's shoes, and they just don't have that inner knowingness or the strength to see beyond their own self. It's a selfishness to its core, and they need to be more introspective.
Yeah, and they're using the kids as pawns. That's all.
And-
I'm going to
lawyers-
use them to get back at them.
And the lawyers don't teach them any better.
No, you
The
know what?
lawyers make it worse.
I was going to say that. I think they kind of edge them on. And is it to keep the legal bill going? Is it just like the more you fight, the better it is for the lawyers? Is that?
There's a lot of it. And it's what if the client says, I don't want, blah, 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 blah. And the lawyer will be like, okay, I don't know. It's an ego thing. It's a pride. It's money. It's all of it.
Wow. So yeah, you got to be careful. You have to know who you are and what you stand for. You can't, and that's the thing about getting advice. You have to be careful where you get your advice from. I know just because you're paying for it doesn't mean that it's always the best advice. You have to sometimes sit still. As a couple, Tina and I, we meditate, and it works for us, right? We get still and we meditate, and we get clear on different answers and things like that. So when you're going through something, or even when we're not, I mean, it's better when we're not. because then we have the armor when it does come, right? So when we're sitting up there and we're doing our thing and we're meditating, we become so much closer. I didn't know how to meditate. She learned how to, and then she brought me into the fold, and together it's just been powerful. So
you become more connected, right?
yeah, and I didn't think we could. I thought we had a decent relationship anyway. But it's something about prayer. Prayer and meditation really has moved our relationship just so much further. It just brought us so much closer. I mean, she loves me, I love her. So
I love that. It's a deep connection, and people have to learn too. That's a form of communication, and that's a form of intimacy.
yes.
And when you get to those levels, you build such a deep bond. And a lot of people don't realize that sometimes when you have these disagreements and you have healthy, effective communication and you talk through things instead of having these explosive fights, you build such a deeper bond and an understanding. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's great.
Well, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. I really, I know you're busy. I really appreciate you jumping on this live on Friday, just so our viewers can get a chance to know you a little bit better and understand that there's people out there that really have their best interests at heart. So if you're in need of some coaching or some legal advice, you know who to hit up. Let me get that website again down here, guys. So you'll know, hit her up. She's awesome. And you know what? It always starts at the top. So you know if the head person is awesome, the rest of the organization is. It comes from the top down, right? And I can say that because Adrian has been like, rock solid.
She'll love it.
All right. There you go.
All right. I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Okay, hold on one second, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this tonight. But listen, find you someone that can give you some good advice, some sound advice. Find yourself a coach. You have one right here in me as well. But if you need some legal help, you know where to go. All right. So once again, I want to say thank you for hanging out. Until next Friday, guys. Be good.